Your community is everything. If you're running a business, the benefits you get from a community are pretty obvious. Way more word of mouth, better retention, better understanding of customer needs, and so much more. But what does your community get in return? I've created a private community that has all my playbooks, all my tools, resources, peer-to-peer groups, free startup ideas, but also gives the opportunity for anyone to ask me anything. And the questions I've got are so good that it would be a shame not to share them with you. So in this video, I'll be answering some of the questions that I've got from my community at Community Empire. If you care about growing an audience, building a community, and creating an online business, keep watching until the end. I'm sure that you will learn something valuable. Fox asks, any guidelines for building a paid course? I'm writing one for interviews, embedding an existing YouTube video with a good answer to an interview question, in addition to writing my own mini essays on an explanation and pros and cons. Basically, any advice for creating a paid course. The important thing is people learn differently. Some people like live video and live cohort-based learning. Some people like images, some people like text, some people like a mixture of it all. So what I found to be most helpful is that if you can create a paid course experience that has a little bit of everything. I do believe that people prefer this cohort-based model where they have to show up 3 or 4 times a week to a particular class. I think people are really busy for the most part, especially when you're talking about like B2B courses, like professional courses, selling professional content. My advice for if you're trying to build a paid course, it's okay to have a cohort, but think about how you can have different mediums to make the most engaging content as possible. And I like to think about how do you create maybe a 70% watch as you go or enjoy as you go and 30% live component. Cameron Mensa asks, what specific questions do you ask your community when gaining insight for your products? For example, if I set up a Typeform right now, what would the question would be on it? So I'm a big fan of open-ended questions. Now why? When you ask an open-ended question, and what that means is it's not a yes or no answer. It's basically a blank box that allows people to type in, their desires, their wants, their needs, and you just get a lot more colorful answers, and you really, really get to put yourself in the minds of your target customer. I'm a big fan of that open-ended question. Christina Flynn asks, I'd love to hear your perspective on how generative AI will intersect and have the most impact on community/communities in the context of your ACP approach specifically. Bonus, what's the most productive use case you found in AI in your daily work? Generative AI is going to have a massive impact on communities, specifically around Q&A. So when you have a community, there's so much question and answers happening at all times, and a lot of the same questions get asked. So having just better community service, I call it, which is like a form of customer service through Q&A that's powered by generative AI, is definitely where things are going. The bigger trend is definitely that customer service in general is going to be powered by generative AI. And a lot of people think that, well, if it's going to be powered by robots, it's going to be horrible. Truth is, it's going to be a higher quality experience for the most part. But of course, you won't be able to replace humans 100%. For example, I'm doing this Q&A and hopefully won't get replaced. And I think that, humans do have a je ne sais quoi, a bit more of art, where a lot of generative AI are more about science. I think you'll see major impacts on the community space and internet communities thanks to generative AI. And what's been the most productive use case I've found for AI in my daily work? Honestly, plugging in responses to emails through Greg GPT, which is my GPT on top of ChatGPT, which speaks like me, speaks in more of like a friendly conversational tone, which is how I like to speak. And sometimes I want to, I'll write and answer an email really quick, post it into Greg GPT, fixes all my typos, it adds my tone, and I could bang through emails significantly quicker. I also sometimes ask it to just review, like almost like a second opinion on something. That's one of the benefits of ChatGPT, or in my case, Greg GPT. Let's just say you want to review the last 12 months of P&L and give your opinion on why business went down in December. What is your analysis? Asking ChatGPT for analysis, especially when you're looking at the past, always helpful, and in general, asking for second opinions, definitely underrated way to use ChatGPT. Taha Jawed asks, how did you think up the names? You probably need a robot and boring marketer. Can you just put any name, or is there a framework for creating engaging names on Twitter? It is so important to have engaging names nowadays. I have a notes file where I basically write any interesting words or phrases that I see, and I just put it in my notes file on my phone. I think that both those products, You Probably Need a Robot.com and BoringMarketing.com, and our Twitter persona, Boring Marketer, would be nowhere near as successful if it wasn't for those names. They just stick. The framework for coming up with a sticky name, I don't know if there is one. I think you do have to be able to recognize it. If I were to come up with one off the top of my head, does it make you laugh? Does it make you smile? Can it pass the telephone test? Meaning, if you call a friend and you say, go to boringmarketing.com, they know how to spell it. That's really helpful. But my biggest advice would be just to, as you come across your daily activities, to be writing down interesting words and phrases, thinking about how you can remix them, create your own versions, really interesting names that are going to stick with people. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this correctly, but Inigo Alegria asks, what are your thoughts on offering equity to creators? Have you ever thought about this, and how could it work? I'm thinking about it as an exchange for creators' incentive alignment to promote my brand and fast track audience and community development. It's a great question. More and more startups, founders are going to be looking to creators to find distribution. It's an incredible source for distribution. But the problem is a lot of these startups are going to do deals with these creators. They're going to give away 20% of their business, and creators are busy people, and they're basically might just forget about this, or they might find another shiny object. So I think that if you want a creator to partner up with your business, and I think it's a fantastic idea, think about how you can do milestone unlocking for particular creators. So if you hit $1 million in revenue, you get 5%. If you do this, you get that. Is a great way to unlock the power of creators, but at the same time protect you from having some creator own a bunch of your business that isn't doing much. Jacob asks, what's the better way of getting people into a community magnet? Which a community magnet is basically this lead magnet, where instead of bringing them to a traditional lead magnet, which might be a PDF or a book, you're actually bringing them into a community. So this person says, should you go from YouTube video to a public school, or do you go from a YouTube to a ConvertKit landing page and then to a private school? So I love school as a way to host your community. I use it for myself and a bunch of our businesses. I think one downside of school, I will say, is that you can't create landing pages on the fly. You can basically send people, let's say you're recording a video and you're like, go to my school, and you give them the link, but you're not able to prime them as well as you would on a landing page where you can control the messaging. Course School gives you some ways to control the messaging, but it isn't as dialed with a customized platform like ConvertKit. So first of all, I highly recommend School. So sign up to School. It's like $99 a month to sign up for it. Or if you sign up to our course, Community Empire, you actually get it for free. So sign up. And then if you have the ability to create attention via YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, whatever, send these people a landing page where you can prime them, tell them about your value proposition, show them your brand, get them immersed in it. And then from there, bring them to the school. And then you get their email address, and then you bring them into the community magnet, and you nurture them to hopefully eventually sell them products. So most of the schools that we work with, they're free schools, and then you can also create a paid school where you can basically say, anyone who wants to join my paid community, it's going to be $99 a month, $150 a month, $10 a month. But you can start with the audience, build the community, and then build that paid monthly subscription product. Mike Wynn asks, do you think it's wise to run ads to your free community? Absolutely. I mean, if you would run ads to a lead magnet, why wouldn't you run ads to a community magnet? So if you know how much a email is worth to you, let's say it's worth $5 an email newsletter subscriber, why wouldn't you pay $2 for it? And then you're making that arbitrage spread. And the beauty about the community is you're going to be nurturing a good portion of those people within it. So hopefully that actually increases the lifetime value of your customer. Pete Orenstein asks, how often should I post on LinkedIn? In what format? And any underrated hacks that I've discovered? It's a great question. LinkedIn is so underrated, especially if you're posting on X, posting on Twitter. Basically a very similar type of content that you can apply to LinkedIn. You just have to take your content, put it into stories. That's what performs well on LinkedIn. Tell me about a story of something you've learned, something that's happened to you, a failure, and just post every 24 hours. The algorithm favors 24 hours. I think an underrated hack is if you create these cheat sheets, people love them, people save them, so they do really well. So that's it for this video. I hope that some of your questions were answered. And if you got some more, leave them in the comments below, and I'll make sure to answer them in a future video. Thanks for watching. Bye.